Catherine Fisher, one of the authors of Piano Safari. My co-author is Julie Haig. This is a recent picture of us before a presentation we gave in England. While in graduate school, Julie and I discovered we had a mutual dream of writing a piano method. After 10 years of work and research, we released Level 1. Since that time, we've created a large number of additional pedagogical materials, and we're continually writing new books.
The core Piano Safari method has 3 levels. It is designed for the average age beginner, students who are between the ages of 6 and 10. For students younger than this, we have Piano Safari Friends, our preschool method that is designed to prepare students for Level 1.
It generally takes the average student a full year to complete Level 1. The Level 1 pack consists of the repertoire book, an all-in-one book that features pieces, technique, improvisation, and theory, and the sight reading and rhythm cards, which correlate with the repertoire book. These are vitally important as they provide the necessary reinforcement for learning to read music and tap rhythms with mastery. A supplemental theory book for extra writing practice is also available. Because of the various types of pieces in Piano Safari, this workshop is organized topically and will cover 4 types of pieces: rote, reading, technique, and improvisation. When you look through the book, the type of piece is indicated in the upper right-hand corner of the page. As Julie and I taught many different piano methods during our early years of teaching, we discovered that most methods are strictly reading-based. Students play only what they can read. The other extreme was a rote learning method in which students learned entirely by rote, copying the teacher's example. As we began writing Piano Safari, we thought, what would happen if we put the two together, teaching reading and rote simultaneously?
What happened was that students became confident readers through our intervallic reading approach, and they became excited about playing the piano and very skilled in musical and rhythmic understanding through learning the more complicated rote pieces. The reading pieces taught visual literacy, and the rote pieces taught oral literacy. This combination of rote and reading is the most unique feature of the Piano Safari method. We look at rote teaching in a specific way, which we will outline in a moment. But first, here is what we do not mean by rote teaching. We are not training students to copy the teacher without any thought or understanding, and we are not creating students who will forever be reliant on playing by ear without learning to read. Instead, we offer a new paradigm for using rote teaching in a specifically applied way. Now for our definition of what rote teaching is. It is the systematic introduction of musical and artistic concepts that are best introduced by modeling rather than from the notated score. Music is an aural art and thus transcends notation. As Francis Clark famously said, sound should come before symbol. Our new paradigm for rote teaching includes the following concepts. Rote teaching is for beginners. Since children are capable of understanding and playing much more complicated music than they can read, rote teaching is ideally suited for use with beginners, while we are also laying the foundation for the reading skills they need to master. Rote pieces are at the student's playing level, which is much more difficult than their reading level. Rote teaching must be paired with reading instruction. Students learn rote pieces alongside a separate body of reading pieces. And rote pieces should be based on keyboard patterns that are easy to understand and remember by beginners with no theory background. We want to emphasize that not every piece makes a good rote piece.
A good rote piece is one that's designed with keyboard patterns in mind, which are easily understood by students with no theory knowledge. It's not saying, play this note, now play this note, one note at a time. For example, when a young child experiments at the piano, they often play chromatic patterns. This is a pattern they understand. Another pattern young children understand are the groups of 2 and 3 black keys and the white key groups on the piano. Our rote pieces were composed specifically with patterns like these in mind. This teaches students that music is not a random collection of notes, but is created with a logical structure. Also, because these patterns yield chromatic, pentatonic, and whole tone sounds, the students' ears are open to a variety of sounds. Here are 2 examples of rote pieces from Level 1. I Like Bananas is a rote piece from the introductory unit. It's based on a chromatic pattern of white and black keys. This piece is fun because students can substitute the original words, I like bananas just like a monkey, with other foods and animals, such as, I like spaghetti just like a tiger. This activity encourages students to repeat the piece multiple times, just so they can play different combinations of foods and animals. To show you the scope of the book and how far students progress in their rote playing, here is the last rote piece in Level 1, called Monkey Blues. We originally included rote pieces in Piano Safari because we wanted students to have some great sounding and motivating pieces to learn alongside the simpler reading pieces. Students are very excited to play Alphabet Boogie because they use the entire range of the keyboard, and it's so fun to play with the boogie bass. This piece is fun because students can substitute the original words, I like bananas just like a monkey, with other foods and animals, such as, I like spaghetti just like a tiger. This activity encourages students to repeat the piece multiple times, just so they can play different combinations of foods and animals. To show you the scope of the book and how far students progress in their rote playing, here is the last rote piece in Level 1, called Monkey Blues. We originally included rote pieces in Piano Safari because we wanted students to have some great sounding and motivating pieces to learn alongside the simpler reading pieces. Motivation is a prime benefit of teaching by rote. As we began teaching these rote pieces, we realized there are also other benefits of learning rote pieces, including the development of concentration because the pieces are often longer, confidence and memory, patterns because music is logical and has a form, rhythm, technique. The rote pieces are using notes often from different ranges of the keyboard or all over the keyboard, and creativity. Just like in I Like Bananas, we see these benefits. It takes concentration for young students to play a piece of this length. They are experiencing syncopated rhythms, and they're developing a free form technique. You may be wondering how students remember the rote pieces when practicing at home. On the videos page of our website are reminder videos, which are mini tutorials to remind the student how to play the piece.
We have just highlighted 2 of the many rote pieces found in Level 1. We encourage you to play through more of them on your own so you can investigate more of the interesting sounds and textures students are exposed to. For now, let's move on to the next topic for today, reading. Our philosophy of reading includes 3 main ideas. First, we believe that reading music well is only part of being musically literate. The other part is understanding music, which is absorbed through the rote pieces. Second, learning to read music should be systematic, using a logical, step-by-step approach. Third, students require more reinforcement and repetition for each reading concept than we might think. Just as students do not learn to read their native language in a few months, but require constant practice over a period of several years, so we should not expect students to be able to spontaneously read music well without years of repetition and reinforcement. In the Piano Safari approach, students learn reading through recognizing intervals, finding patterns, connecting the visual with the aural, and developing the ability to audiate sound, and finally, learning note names. All of these components combine to create fluent reading. Being able to read music is not just about recognizing the notes on the staff. The intervallic reading approach used in Piano Safari was pioneered in the 1950s and 60s by Clark, Chronister, and Blickenstaff. This approach trained students to see the interrelationship of notes rather than viewing each note as an individual unit. For example, students learn that the first note is G. They put finger 5 on G and then read by direction and interval. Seconds down, sames or unisons, and then seconds up. We will explore this more as we take our tour through the units of Level 1. Advanced pianists who are excellent sight readers also read using patterns. Rather than seeing only the note names, as shown in this intermediate Clementi sonatina, this would be rather complicated, good sight readers see patterns and shapes like this. Although good sight readers have an undercurrent of instantly knowing all the note names, fluent reading primarily comes from seeing shapes and patterns of melodies and chords, such as chord inversions, scales, and common patterns like Alberti bass. And now for our philosophy of rhythm. Optimally, experiencing rhythm comes before learning its notation. Students gain experience with rhythms by listening to music and learning rote pieces. Teaching students common rhythmic patterns helps organize understanding. In Piano Safari, this is done with the animal rhythm patterns, which we will discuss more in detail in a moment. The syllabic counting system comes before students learn to count metrically, and metric counting is introduced at the beginning of Level 2. For our syllabic counting system, we use a modified Kodai-Gordon system that keeps the ta on the main beat. Quarter notes are ta, 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 and eighth notes are ta-ti, ta-ti. We have found that introducing this syllabic system helps students solidify a sense of pulse and easily master subdivisions before the added complexity of counting with numbers is added. While students need to learn each rhythmic value individually, we also want them to recognize rhythms in larger groups, which is why we created the animal rhythm patterns. These are related to the earliest rote pieces and animal techniques in Level 1 and are used extensively in Piano Safari Friends. Even the smallest children readily recognize these patterns and groups when tied to the animal names. We have Charlie Chipmunk and Hippo, both from rote pieces. The remaining 4 patterns are tied to the 7 animal techniques found in Level 1. Roar 2, 3, 4, Tall Giraffe, Zechariah Zebra, and Kangaroo.
While the students are working on rote pieces that are above their reading level but well within their technical and musical grasp, they're also learning to read music notation through a step-by-step approach. The reading pieces are found in the repertoire book, and 16 sight reading and rhythm cards correlate with each unit in the book. Unit 1 begins with pre-staff reading on the black keys. Unit 2 has pre-staff reading on the white keys. Unit 3 introduces the staff and intervals of unisons and seconds. In Unit 4, students learn the interval of a third. And finally, Unit 5 combines seconds and thirds. Let's explore each unit in more detail. Ocean Animals is the first reading piece in the book using pre-staff notation on the black keys. In order to develop a good piano hand shape and play with strong tone, we have students play all of the pieces and sight reading cards in the first half of the book with non-legato articulation. To help students master this, we often ask them to tap the rhythm and play the piece on the fall board of the piano before playing it on the keys. So for example, we would have them tap the rhythm first, ta, 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 2, ta, 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 2, all the way through the piece. Next step is to play finger numbers while speaking the number. 2, 2, 2, 3, 3, 3, and so on. Preparation steps like this set the student up for a successful first attempt at reading and playing the piece. So let's listen to how this piece sounds. Teachers often ask us this question: why pre-staff? Why not just start on the staff? We begin with pre-staff notation because there is way too much information for a student to process on a page with the staff. For example, before playing this piece on the staff, students need to understand the clef, time signature, bar lines, finger numbers, notes, intervals, rhythm, and Italian terms, and to be sure they're playing with proper technique. This is a lot to think about in the first introduction to reading. This is a sight reading card from the first unit of Level 1. There is a separate right hand line, a separate left hand line, and a rhythm tapping exercise across the bottom. During this early stage of study, we work on the sight reading cards mainly in the lesson to be certain students are secure with the skills. If they are, we send a few home and check them at the next lesson. Students cover 16 cards as they work through the corresponding pieces in Unit 1. In Unit 2, students read pre-staff notation on the white keys. Once students enter this unit, it's important to spend time drilling where the white keys are located on the piano. One fun activity for teaching the white key names is to use the piano decorating kit. So for example, we have these giraffe rectangles which are laid on the groups of 3 black keys. We have these zebra triangles which are placed on the groups of 2 black keys. And then we have individual pieces for all of the white keys on the piano, as you can see in the picture. So students would place those in relation to their black key groups. So I placed C, D, and E on my piano around the group of 2 black keys, and students would place F, G, A, B around the group of 3 black keys. The pre-staff reading pieces that begin on the white keys are organized by groups. C, D, and E that surround the groups of 2 black keys, and F, G, A, B around the groups of 3 black keys, as we just discussed when we were looking at the piano decorating kit. For the CDE group, students first experience this group of white keys by playing a piece called the CDE March, which is taught by Rote. To play this, students simply stand behind the piano and they play every C, D, and E group on the piano using non-legato articulation. All the way to the top of the piano. So students become familiar with the group of notes through this Rote piece. And then they transfer their knowledge to a reading piece. This is Mary Had a Little Lamb. Let's watch a video of a student playing this. Unit 3 is a pivotal moment in Repertoire Book 1 because students learn to read on the staff. This can go very smoothly if time is taken to adequately prepare students. From their work with pre-staff notation, students already understand many concepts such as melodic direction, rhythmic notation, and finger numbers. They've also developed basic technical control from their Rote pieces. Now, the new concepts that are introduced are line and space notes and landmark notes. In Piano Safari, we use treble G and bass C. All reading pieces and sight reading exercises in Level 1 begin on these 2 landmark notes. Students then learn about the interval of a second and how seconds move from a line to space or from a space to a line. As we discussed in the pre-staff cards, one of the most important ways to set students up for success with reading is to provide clear steps for how to begin. We know as advanced musicians how important this is. Before starting a new piece, we need to check things like the meter and time signature, for instance, to give context to what we are doing. The same analysis skills will help young students. The first step for a student at this level is to identify the clef. In Piano Safari Level 1, the right hand always plays in the treble clef, so students color the clef sign with right hand red and label the landmark note, treble G, in the same color. Next, we point at the first note of the melody and speak the melodic direction. For example, students point at G, and then with their finger they trace the melody saying down, down, up, up, down, down, for example, all the way to the end of the line. At this point, students are only playing seconds, so there is no need to look for skips or thirds. Finally, the student identifies the starting finger and places the hand on treble G. The teacher should help with tracking by pointing above the note as the student plays. The same process takes place for the bass clef, but this time the color is light blue for left hand, light blue. In this melody, there are some repeated notes, so we ask students to choose a different color and mark them. We call this their sames color. We have found that it's sometimes difficult for students to see notes that stay the same, and this also clearly shows the ups and downs of the surrounding melody. Now the student is ready to play the melody, and we require them to do so at least 3 times correctly. It's amazing how well this system works. Students are reading music by contour without needing to know every single letter name. They can concentrate solely on identifying intervals and melodic contours, and they learn note names at a later point. All of the reading pieces in this unit should be marked using exactly the same system as is shown in this reading piece from Unit 3, My Dog Fritz. In Unit 4, students learn the interval of a third. All of the pieces and sight reading cards use only this interval. In Unit 5, the intervals of seconds and thirds are finally combined.
We finished talking about rote and reading, and now we will move on to the next topic, technique. In my dissertation research, I interviewed and observed excellent teachers around the United States about how they approach technique with their beginning students. Although these teachers used a variety of methods and came from different technical schools of thought, such as Russian, Taubman, Suzuki, and others, commonalities among the teachers emerged in my research. We have taken these common gestures and codified them into the 7 animal techniques found in Piano Safari Level 1. Here are the 7 animal techniques derived from my dissertation research. They provide a strong technical foundation for beginning students. I will demonstrate with my right hand, but the left hand learns them as well. The first one is lion paw, which teaches arm weight for good tone production. Roar, 2, 3, 4. The next one is tall giraffe, which helps students refine the non-legato articulation that they use to play all their pieces and sight reading cards at the beginning of study. We also introduce a graceful wrist lift, which we liken to the tall giraffe's long neck. Tall giraffe, tall giraffe. Zechariah Zebra teaches fast repeated notes, which helps to form a good piano hand shape and strengthen the fingernail joints. Zechariah Zebra, Zechariah Zebra. And then they go back down. Tree frog is the student's introduction to legato playing. It has an arm bounce on each note to keep the arm involved in tone production. Kangaroo reviews fast repeated notes for forming the good piano hand shape and strengthening the finger knuckle joints. Kangaroo. Soaring bird is a different kind of legato where one graceful arm motion combines several notes in a slur. And monkey swinging in a tree is the introduction to rotation. Monkey swinging in a tree. In Level 1, there are 3 types of pieces for each of the 7 animal techniques. A technique exercise where the student learns the gesture by rote, an improvisation piece where the student can explore the gesture in a freer way, and a rote piece where the student uses the gesture in a piece. Today we will highlight just one of the 7 animal techniques in detail, the lion paw. Although just the right hand exercise shows on this slide, there is an exercise for the left hand as well. All technique is taught by rote so that students are able to pay close attention to the gesture rather than be distracted by the score. In the following video, watch how this student works on the lion paw technique at the piano. As you will see, the stuffed lion sleeps at the piano and only wakes up when she plays a correct lion paw drop with a loud sound and a loose arm. We often use props like this to teach technique and make it more fun and memorable for young students. You did. Okay, he's asleep now. Whoa, that was a loud one. How about the next one? Whoa! Whoa, that was a loud one. I'm just going to go over here see if we can get some sleep over there. Oh my, that was a loud one. Great. Wow. You may have noticed that this student was using a very large motion for her lion paw drop. At the early stages of learning a technique, we feel that exaggeration of a motion is normal and beneficial. It is easier to start with a large movement and then minimize it, rather than starting with too small of a motion. The student continued to work on refining this technique in future lessons. Roaring lion, crouching lion is the improvisation piece for the lion paw technique. Students learn the roaring lion and crouching lion parts by rote, and then they can explore the gesture with the your lion part, in which they make large lion paw drops on any white key. After these 3 parts are learned, the piece is put into a form as shown on the second page, or the student can use cards provided on our website to create their own form.
After the improvisation piece, each technique in level 1 has a corresponding rote piece. King of the African Drum is played entirely with finger 2s, and it uses both hands. This piece is in Unit 1, so students play it in the early days of their lessons. They love making a big sound and using a wide range of the piano. The 4th component of Piano Safari is improvisation. There are 2 types of improvisation pieces found in level 1. The first type is related to the 7 animal techniques, like roaring lion, crouching lion. The second type are standalone improvisation pieces. Here is an example of a rote piece that incorporates improvisation. In outer space, the student learns the main theme by rote. They then choose one object from space, draw a picture of it in the box, and then freely improvise on that idea. So let's say the student decides to improvise on a rocket. Anything they choose is correct. The rocket is traveling up high to space. Next, they play the space theme again, and then they choose another object from space to improvise, maybe this time a planet. So here's the space theme. And then the planet improvisation. As you can see in the music, they play that space theme one more time, and then they end with a shooting star glissando. And the shooting star. One thing to understand about teaching Piano Safari is that it uses a unit-based approach. In each unit, there are various types of pieces. The teacher has the freedom within a unit to assign the pieces in any order that works well for each individual student. Some days the student may need a new reading piece, while other days the student might need a new rote piece. The student gradually learns all pieces in the unit and then graduates to the next unit. This allows for a balanced assignment, which may include several reading pieces, sight reading cards, rote pieces, a technique exercise, and review pieces that have already been mastered. To summarize, in Level 1, students learn rote pieces based on keyboard patterns that move all over the keyboard and expose students to a variety of sounds and styles. At the same time, they're learning to read music through reading pieces and sight reading cards, reading unisons, seconds, and thirds. They form a good technical foundation by learning the basic gestures found in the 7 animal techniques, and they create music in the improvisation pieces.
In Level 2, students continue to learn rote pieces alongside increasingly complex reading pieces and sight reading cards. They are reading the intervals of seconds through fifths by the end of Level 2. They also learn all their note names on the staff. Level 2 has a separate technique book where students learn pentascales and triads in all major and minor keys. One new component in Level 2 are what we call challenge pieces, which introduce students to standard repertoire by composers such as Gurlitt and Czerny. Level 3 moves to a multi-key approach. Each unit focuses on a key, C, G, F, and their relative minors. Technique, sight reading cards, theory, and repertoire are all integrated in each unit. In Level 3, there are no more rote pieces as the reading and playing levels have merged. The 3 levels of Piano Safari for the older student follow the same pedagogy as the method for younger children, but move at an accelerated pace and with more sophisticated themes. These books are designed for students who are starting piano at age 10 through adult.
We will finish today with our newest series, Piano Safari Friends, designed for young beginners ages 4 to 6. On the left, you will see the student pack, which has the book and corresponding sticker book. On the right are some teaching aids that correlate with Piano Safari Friends, including the music alphabet cards, animal rhythm patterns, and piano decorating kit. Each unit of the book focuses on one letter of the music alphabet. Students also gain much practice with the animal rhythm patterns. Students in this book learn rote pieces and also a new kind of piece called follow the leader pieces. These are a type of pre-rote piece where students copy one measure phrases throughout the piece, allowing even the youngest students to make beautiful music. Here is an example of what a follow the leader piece sounds like. Thank you so much for watching our presentation today. We are happy to answer any questions you have, and you can email us directly at info@pianosafari.com. And you can also find all of our materials and resources at either pianosafari.com or pianosafariasia.com. Thank you again.